Right now, the most expensive surface in your house to heat is also the cheapest one to fix. And the fix costs you nothing. That window next to you is the coldest thing in the room. Colder than the walls. Colder than the floor. And if it's a single pane or an old one sitting in a bare aluminum frame, it's barely doing more than a sheet of cling film to hold the cold out. It's bleeding heat all night, and your furnace is running a little longer and cycling a little more often to replace it, quietly fighting that one cold pane all winter, and the cost of that fight shows up on a bill you never trace back to the window. The thing that shuts it off is sitting in your recycling bin right now. It cuts the heat pouring out of that glass in half. It goes up in about a minute, and the only tool you need is a spray bottle of water. Let me show you why that glass is bleeding you, and then exactly how to stop it. Windows are responsible for somewhere between 25 and 30% of the energy it takes to heat and cool a home. A small slice of your wall area doing a third of the damage. And single pane glass is the worst of the worst. It has an R value of about 1, which is engineer speak for almost no insulation at all. A single pane of glass is thermally a cold, wet wall you can see through. Here's a test you can run the second this video ends. Walk up to that window tonight and hold the back of your hand a few inches from the glass. Don't touch it. Feel that? That cool air spilling down off the surface and pooling toward the floor? Most people assume that's a draft sneaking in through a gap in the frame. It usually isn't. That's the glass itself. Warm air from your room drifts over, touches the cold pane, dumps its heat into it, gets heavier, and slides straight down to your feet. The window isn't leaking cold in. It's stripping warmth out, one lungful of room air at a time, all night long. Remember that feeling? We're going to come back to your hand at the end. So here's what the bubble wrap actually does. Because once you see it, it stops looking like a hack and starts looking obvious. Every one of those little bubbles is a sealed pocket of trapped air. And still air that can't move, is one of the best cheap insulators on the planet. When you press that sheet against the glass, you're doing two things at once. You're laying down a blanket of trapped air across the cold surface, and you're stopping your warm room air from ever touching the pane in the first place. No contact, no heat dump, no cold waterfall down to the floor. The convection engine just stops. And here's the part that should sound familiar. A sheet of material, then a gap of trapped air, then the cold glass. That is exactly how a double pane window works. Two layers with dead air sealed between them. You're not approximating a double pane window with bubble wrap. You're building one. For free. In about a minute with packing trash and a spritz of water. The numbers back it up, and they're not subtle. A guy named Gary, who runs Build It Solar, an engineer who actually puts instruments on this stuff instead of guessing, measured it directly. A single pane window sits around R1. Add a layer of bubble wrap, and it climbs to about R2. You doubled the insulation value of the glass. And doubling it means that instead of losing 100 units of heat through that window on a cold night, you lose about 50. That's the whole claim. That's where cuts it in half comes from. The heat pouring out of your worst windows. Cut by half for the price of a sheet you were going to throw away. That number stopped me the first time I read it, because nothing that costs $0 is supposed to do half the work of a several $100 window. And it's not just one engineer's spreadsheet. The folks at Family Handyman pointed a thermal camera at it. Bare glass read 51 degrees. The same glass with bubble wrap on it read 60. 9 degrees of difference you can photograph from a sheet of plastic and some water. People who've done it say the same thing every time. You can feel the difference in the room the moment it's up. The cold zone that used to hang around the window is just gone. Okay, let me put the cost side next to it because this is where it gets a little ridiculous. A sheet of bubble wrap from the box your last order came in. $0. If you buy a roll new, you're looking at about 30 cents a square foot. Now let me put real numbers on what that buys you. And engineers work this out, and the math is clean. On a single pane window in a cold climate, every square foot of glass you cover saves you somewhere around $1.60 in heating over a season. Take a normal window. Call it 15 square feet of glass. That's roughly $25 a winter, off one window from a sheet of trash. Now do the math on a house. 10 old single pane windows, and you're keeping somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 a year that used to walk straight out through the glass. The wrap to cover all 10 cost you nothing or close to it. It pays itself back in about 2 months, before winter's even over. Now hold that next to the other option. Replacing a single old window runs $300 to $800 installed. A whole house of them is $3,000 to $8,000. A new window takes 20 years or more to earn its price back. The bubble wrap earns its price back by Valentine's Day. One of those fits in a spray bottle. The other one needs a crew in your house for 3 days. So here's exactly how you do it. This is genuinely a 1-minute job once you've done it once. First, cut your bubble wrap to the size of the glass. Lay the sheet over the window, eyeball the pane, and cut it just a hair smaller than the glass on every edge so it sits inside the frame. Scissors are fine. You don't need to be precise. Second, clean the glass and give it a light mist of plain water from a spray bottle. Light. You want a thin film, not a puddle, and I'll tell you why in a second. Third, and this is the part everyone gets backwards. Press the bubble side against the glass, not the flat side. The bubbles go toward the window. It feels wrong, like the flat side should stick better. But the bubbles are what grip the wet glass, and they're what create the air layer you actually want sitting against the cold surface. Flat side in, and you get worse adhesion and worse insulation. Bubbles in, every time. Fourth, smooth it out from one edge across to the other, pushing the water and the air toward the edges as you go. The surface tension of that thin film of water grabs the plastic and holds it like a suction seal. No tape, no glue, no hairdryer, nothing sticky on your glass when you're done. That's it. The water holds it for the entire heating season. You are not reapplying this every day. You put it up in the fall and you leave it. And that brings me to the thing most people get completely wrong about this, which is when to have it up. The instinct is to treat it like a shade, put it up at night to trap heat, take it down in the day. In winter, that's backwards and it'll cost you. Here's why. Bubble wrap is translucent. Sunlight pours right through it, so on a sunny winter day, the sun still comes through that window, hits your floor and your furniture, and warms the room for free, exactly like it always did. Except now, the bubble wrap is also stopping that heat from leaking back out through the glass. You're collecting free solar heat all day and holding it in all night. Take the wrap down during the day and you throw away the second half of that. So in winter, on the windows you've covered, you leave it up. All day, all night, all season. Set it and forget it. A couple of quick things that'll save you a headache. Use the big bubble wrap, not the little stuff. Bigger bubbles mean more trapped air, which means more insulation, and they let more light through too. The tiny bubbles fuzz the view worse and insulate less. Win-win for going big. And go easy on the water. If you soak the glass, that extra moisture has nowhere to go, and you can get condensation building up behind the sheet. A light mist is all the suction you need. If you've got hard water, a quick spritz of distilled water keeps you from leaving faint mineral spots on the glass when spring comes. Now, 2 things people worry about, and both have simple answers. The first one is cracking the glass. You're spraying water on a cold window, and somewhere in the back of your head is a voice asking if that cold shock is going to crack the pane. Here's the fix. Do this from the warm inside of the house, with room temperature water from a bottle that's been sitting indoors. You're not throwing freezing water on a frozen pane from outside. You're misting a thin film on the inside face, where the glass is already closer to room temperature. Apply it on a normal day, not in the middle of a deep freeze, and the glass never gets the shock that would crack it. The second one is condensation, and this is the one worth getting right. Here's the good news first. For most people, bubble wrap actually reduces the sweating on their windows. Condensation forms when warm, damp room air hits a surface colder than its dew point. Bubble wrap warms up the inside surface by those few crucial degrees, so the air never gets cold enough to drop its water. Sills that used to be wet every morning go dry. That's the normal result. But there's a flip side, and I'd rather you hear it from me than find out in February. If your home runs really humid, you cook a lot without a fan, you dry laundry indoors, it's an old house that holds damp. That moisture has to land somewhere, and it can collect between the wrap and the glass and pool on the sill. Left alone, that's where mold starts. So if you know you've got a humid house, check behind one sheet after the first week. If it's bone dry, you're golden. Leave it all up. If you see beads forming, run your bathroom and kitchen fans. Crack a window for a few minutes a day, and that clears it. It's a moisture problem, not a bubble wrap problem. And it was already happening on your cold glass before you ever touched it. The wrap just gives you a place to notice it. One more small thing. Cover the glass, not the whole frame. The bottom of most window frames has little drainage gaps, weep holes, that let moisture escape. Don't seal those over, just the pane. Now, the honest trade-off, because there's always one. The view goes frosty. Bubble wrap turns your clear window into soft, glowing, translucent light. You get the brightness, you get privacy, but you lose the sharp view of the yard. So don't put this on the picture window you sit and look out of. Put it on the windows you don't. The bathroom, the spare room, the basement, the laundry room, north-facing windows that never had much of a view anyway. The window behind the couch that nobody actually looks through. Cover those, leave your good window clear, and you get most of the savings without ever missing the view. Here's who this is really for, and who should skip it, because being straight about that is the whole point. If you've got single pane windows, or those old aluminum frames with no thermal break, this is going to shock you. That's where you get the full effect, the up to 50% cut, the room that suddenly feels different. If you've got older double pane windows that are tired or leaky, you'll still get a real bump, around 20% worth doing. But if you've got modern, tight, double or triple pane windows, skip it. They already have a sealed air gap doing this exact job, and the bubble wrap won't add much on top. Don't waste your afternoon. This trick is a gift to old glass specifically. And if you rent, this one's for you more than anyone. Think about it. It peels off in spring with zero residue, leaves no mark, needs no adhesive, and asks no permission from a landlord. It's the rare home upgrade you can actually take with you when you move. A good sheet lasts 5 to 7 years if you peel it down each spring and store it. Roll it up, label which window it came from. Tuck it in a closet, put it back up in the fall. You're insulating someone else's bad windows on your terms and pocketing the savings the whole time you're there. This isn't some fringe internet trick someone made up last winter either. Greenhouse growers have been lining their glass with bubble wrap for decades to hold heat around their plants. It's standard kit in that world. And in Korea, this is just what people do. They've got a name for it, air cap. And the Korean Institute for Basic Science, an actual government research body, puts it in writing as cold weather advice. Wet the glass, press the bubble wrap on, stay warmer. Right down to telling you to reuse the wrap from your moving boxes and delivery packages. The physics has been quietly working in greenhouses and on city windows for a long time. It just never made the jump into the average home over here. So why doesn't everyone do this? Honestly, it's not complicated. Most people have no idea that the packing material from their deliveries is a genuine insulator. It reads as trash, not a building product. And the few who do know tend to picture it looking ugly and never get around to it. That's really the whole story. There's no catch. It's bubble wrap. The thing working against it isn't cost or difficulty. It's that it's a little unglamorous. And unglamorous loses to, I'll deal with it later, every single time. But on a frosted bathroom window you barely look at. In a week, you forget it's even there. And the room stays warm the whole winter while you do. Now go back to that test from the start. The back of your hand near the cold glass. That chill rolling off the surface and down toward the floor. Put the wrap up. 1 window, 1 minute, and try it again an hour later. Hold your hand up to the same pane. The cold face is gone. The surface near your skin feels closer to the room than to the freezing air outside. The little waterfall of cold air that used to spill onto the floor has stopped. You didn't replace anything. You didn't spend anything. You took a sheet of something you were about to throw out, gave it a spray of water, and shut off the coldest surface in your house. And here's the thing to sit with. The fix for your worst window was never a machine, and it was never $1,000 of new glass. It was a layer of trapped air you already owned and kept tossing in the bin. When summer comes, the whole problem flips. That same window stops bleeding your heat out and starts pouring the sun's heat in, and your AC takes over the fight your furnace just put down. The fix flips too, And it's almost as cheap, and it sits on the outside of the glass instead of the inside. That story's already on this channel. Go watch the one on the $15 screen next. Same window. Opposite season. Same idea. Stop the heat at the glass before it ever gets the chance to cost you.